Greetings, everyone. Once again, it's Motamwanidi sharing the authentic truth brought to us by Zulu Lasson in English. So here, the teaching I'm about to share is going to be regarding boyfriends and girlfriends in church, in bracket, fornications, because that's a subject that, and it is a phenomenon that many people are currently experiencing, meaning a lot of people are in that condition, are in those type of relationships where they will say that no, they are so-called Christian or believers, and they will nonetheless have boyfriend and girlfriend, and they will practice the act that is reserved for two people when they are married. For that, we shall go in the current classical day Bible, and I will also use Bibèl, the only authentic Bible without any errors or contradictions. So here I will use in Exodus chapter 12. So in the current classical day Bible is Exodus, but we shall go in Bibèl, so Bible Sedi, which is Exodus chapter 12 and verse 13, and it is the commandments and the moral laws. And it says in verse 13, you shall not commit hybridation. Yes, you will not mix, and that's miscegenation. So you will not mix neither of sexual relations before the marriage approved by the verb of loba, comma, nor of masturbation. You will not commit all these acts, even in thoughts, and you will not look with your eyes at other people having sexual relations of any kind, in bracket, pornography. So here he specifically specified regarding the commandment and the moral law. And those are the laws that were given by Busi, who is known in the current classical day Bible as Moses. And one of the commandments that he gave, that he received from him, we know that those commandments, those laws, comes from the spiritual. And one of the commandments is to not have sexual relations before the marriage, which is approved by the verb of loba, the verb of tete. And many people, like I've said, are in that condition where they have boyfriend and girlfriend, and they will have those type of relations. And they will try to say, no, it is not specifically prohibited in the current classical day Bible. Well, it is prohibited. And as you can see here, neither of sexual relations before the marriage approved by the verb of tete. And the verb of tete is the verb of loba, so the verb of the creator. And that is the law, that is the commandment. And it does make sense, because you have to understand that when two people who are not committed to one another, because when you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, some people, they will say, okay, I'm gonna have this girlfriend here, but then in 2 years they may change. They may say, okay, I have a girlfriend here, but I'm not seeing her as my wife, and I'm not committed 100% to that person. And you're leaving yourself up open so that maybe in the future you may have another girlfriend, or in the case of women, another boyfriend in the future. And when the two people then will go and have practice the act, you have to understand that they will fusion. They will become one in the marital bed. And if that person then later on goes to another partner, and then after 2-3 years another partner. All those desires that the person may have, he is transmitting those to his partner, and he's doing that to the next person, and he's doing that to the next person. And it is also prohibited because for the marital act to happen, it has to be between married people. Because when you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, in the case of woman, it's not something that is considered serious as maybe a fiancé or maybe a wife. You see, in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 8 to 9, it says this: "Now to the unmarried and widows I say this, it is good for them to remain unmarried as I am." Period. Verse 9: "But if they cannot control themselves, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion." Now in the verse 8 it says that I say this, it is good for them to remain unmarried. And that is Paul's opinion, his way of seeing things. It is not the commandment to remain unmarried, to remain single, to remain alone. But he says if they cannot control themselves, so if a person alone, he cannot control his urges, he cannot restrain himself, he feels like he need a companion, he need an help. That person, if it's better for him to marry. And when he says to marry than to burn with passion, and to burn with passion is with those urges, with those desires. And in 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18, in New International Version, it says, "Flee from sexual immorality, period. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body." So here the revelation tells us that when a person commits those type of acts, they sin against their own body, because it is the soul, it is you, it is the person that is corrupting and is using the body to satisfy his urges. That's why a person who commits those acts is even sinning against his own flesh, his own body, because the body is getting corrupted. It's not the body that desires first. It is the soul that began to inflame those desires and sin against his own body. That's why after those many people commit those type of acts, they will feel dirty and they'll feel like they'll need to go take a shower. Why? Because the body wants to clean itself, wants to purge, he's regretting, and he feels dirty. And that's why the body feels the need to clean, to wash after the act has happened. And behind all those boyfriend and girlfriend relationships where they fornicate, you have to understand that it's the desires of, like I've mentioned, the people. And behind that, there's also the influence of the spirits. And those demons, so-called demons, succubus, incubus, Lilith, and so on, that wants people to have unprotected relationships, and then they can also be there and be a part during those relations. Because when it is between two married people, two people who are married according to the verb of loba, the verb of tete, the verb of the Creator, there's a protection. And the demons cannot interfere, cannot see, cannot take part in what's going on in this marital bed, the sacred marital bed, the protected marital bed, the marital bed of people who are walking according to the verb. So there's that protection. And when, therefore, they're not married, that protection is not there. And the demons, those spirits, can then interfere and be part as well of those type of relations. That's why for people out there who are single, and who are believers, if you're alone, even if the person, maybe a girl, a woman, even if she's beautiful and so on, do not invite her at your place alone. Because when she's gonna come, she's not gonna come alone. They're gonna have, there will be spirit as well that will also come. And what will happen is one thing will lead to another, and you'll end up committing the act. That's why, if you're not strong enough, don't invite her alone at your place, because that's opening the door for those desires to be there, to manifest, and to overwhelm both of you. And maybe you'll start by kissing and then touching, and then you'll go to the act. So a wife, it's more personal. It's like saying it's my blood. If you say that's my wife or that's my fiance, if you are at that stage, you see it's more personal. But if you say that's my girlfriend, you see it's something that seems light, that seems okay, it's not that serious. That's his girlfriend then. Maybe after, they may not be together. That means they're just dating around, seeing what's going on, trying to maybe getting some experience. That's what many people would claim. But there's a proper way to meet and begin the processes of getting married. And first it'll start with getting to know each other, and later on there's many stages. There's many stages, but you start by getting to know each other. And between all those stages, before you reach the stage of the official marriage, thus the act should not, it's against the commandment, it's against the law, the spiritual, it's against the moral law to commit the act before you reach the stage of marriage. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 8, it says, "Therefore, anyone who refuse to live by these rules is not disobeying human teaching, but is rejecting God, who gave His Holy Spirit to you. So here in the current classical day Bible, it specifically says that people who reject the law, who reject the commandment, who reject the moral law that I'm sharing here, is not rejecting me, is not rejecting a person. You're rejecting the law, you're rejecting the verb, the commandment. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 5, it says, "You can be sure that no immoral, impure, or greedy person will inherit the kingdom of Christ and of God." Here in Ephesians 5:5 in the current classical day Bible. For a greedy person is an idolater, worshipping the things of this world. And that's what it is also regarding fornications. People who practice that and cannot give it up, cannot stop, they are overwhelmed by those type of urges, by those sensations, by that desire to commit the act, by the act. And it becomes like idolatry. It becomes an idolatry. Fornication is idolatry. When you can resist, when you cannot stop, it becomes your idol. You are like under a spell, and you always want to do that. Many people are in that condition where that's mostly what they think about. When they go online, on the internet, that's mostly what they are looking for to satisfy those desires. And then many people will try to find verses to try to justify their action. So they'll try to make arguments, and they'll try to use the current classical day Bible to try to justify their action. So you have to understand that they become like sorcerers, because now they are trying to use the scriptures to justify their action that are against the law, that are against the scripture. So they are trying to bend the rules, try to say, no, the rules, you're not understanding it properly. You see, they're trying to justify argument and so on. And that is rebellion. And when we go in 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 23, it says this: "For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance is like the wickedness of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, He has rejected you as king." So here we're told that rebellion is like the sin of divination. So people who rebel, who will consciously approve of what they're doing and try to justify it, that is rebellion. And you're told here 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 23, and that is, rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance is like the wickedness of idolatry, because they will be also arrogant and to try to say, no, that doesn't apply to them, or no, that's in a different context. So they will try to act as if they know everything, as if they can interpret the law according to their own way of seeing things, according to their own life, according to their own sensations. Ezekiel chapter chapter 14, verse 8, New Living Translations. I will turn against such people and make a terrible example of them, eliminating them from among my people. So you see, those people are to be put aside because they're disobeying, so they're no longer they're not supposed to be in the community. And the solution is very simple. Because in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22, it says, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. So here it says, he who finds a wife. And it doesn't say he who finds a girlfriend or a boyfriend in the case of women. You see, because it is a wife. It is a woman. And they are getting married. They are married. And that person who finds what is good. In other version, it will say finds happiness. Because when you're married and when you truly love each other, according to the verb, it will be even better than when you're just going along as boyfriend and girlfriend, or as people will claim the term many people will use as a fling or so on. It won't be as strong, the feelings, and as as strong and as intense as well, as if you were married. So don't, now for people out there, maybe young people, young men, don't try to play the soldier or the warrior to try to say, no, I'm strong, I want to be alone, I will resist. And then when maybe there's when you're walking, you'll look at women, and then you'll try to resist. Then you'll say, no, I look, no, I don't look, no, yes, I look. You see, don't try to play that game. Don't try to say, no, you want to be like Paul, because at the time of Paul, it was in a different era, and Paul was surrounded. He wasn't alone. He was surrounded with the apostles, other people that were following the verb, following the law, and he was also he had a mission, so he was always busy. So he was a different era. So the occult word watches, Satan watches, and he will try to make people fall, make people go against the law. That's his goal, to make people disobey or be weak, or that's why he'll try to find your weaknesses, right? He'll try to find where he can attack. And for many people, their weakness is that area. For many young men, for many men, their weakness is woman. So for that, in 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 14, it says, so I counsel younger widows to marry, to have children, to manage their homes, and to give the enemy no opportunity to slander. So that was the teaching regarding that I'm sharing regarding fornication. Now, um, you can have a friend, you can befriend, correct? And walk together, see each other, maybe, I don't know, go to the movies and so on, go to restaurants, visit places. But be careful not to maybe put yourself in positions where um, you know it will lead to something more, right? And that's why usually in more public spaces, it's in public settings with other people who are following the law, who know your fate. It's very good to be surrounded, so you know you will resist. Find the strength if you put yourself in good condition, in good positions, to be able to not flinch. And because if you're alone, maybe in your apartment, it's going to be very easy for some people to to let their guard down, or to let themselves go. Now, it's all that is also mentally, it's in the consciousness. It's it's all in here, because you can change your mentality, you can change the way you're seeing things, so that even if you are faced with beautiful women and so on, you can resist. And you can control your emotion, control your heart, control your desires, control what you want and when you also want it. If you can be in a place, in a consciousness, in um, in let's say a type of mentality where if you want, you can fall in love, and then if things doesn't work out, you can decide to fall in love, and you can also decide, okay, that's not for me, and or that if it doesn't work out, it won't affect you. He won't, the fact that it did not work out, he won't make you feel sad or something like that. So you can be in control of what you decide to feel and experience. And you can also block or decide to fall in love. So all that is, it's consciousness, it's to transcend your state of mind and your way of seeing things. And one good example we can take from all that, it's the example of two people who are known in the current classical day Bible as Joseph and Mary, but their true name is Kolaita and Eyume. And they, before they got married, they did not commit the act, even when they were engaged, meaning engaged to be married, fiancé. And that is the example we should follow. So that's betrothed, 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 betrothed. And there is many people will think, no, that's very hard. You cannot do it. Well, even today, there are people who manage, who are able to go and resist the temptation until they get married. So if other people are able to do it, if the examples we have from the prophets, from the matriarch, the patriarch, if they are able to do it, we are also able to resist. And that is part of sanctification. And that is the path of righteousness. All glory to Loba, the only and unique Creator.